Electricast.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
On this episode of Missing the Point, it's the podcast version of hour number 1 of our monthly Sunday Night Sports Wrap from February 28th, 2021. In this episode, it's all about complaining about the Celtics. This is Missing the Point, episode 42. But it's all relative.
Good evening and welcome to the Sunday Night Sports Wrap, hosted by Missing the Point. My name is Joe Malkin, your host for the evening, and I am joined by this entire, I was almost called you guys a gang, crowd of gentlemen. I guess you could be a gang of gentlemen. They call it
it's a murder of gentlemen.
A murder of gentlemen.
I like that.
Great.
I like that.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. My name is Joe Malkin, and choosing to be introduced as a team are Mike Marcangelo, Dave Clarke, Bob Kelly, and Rayshawn Buchanan. You guys see what I did there? And Craig D'Alessandro is sitting in the background watching and listening. It's a little strange, but we just go with it. And guys, how are we doing tonight? Ray, welcome back. I know you weren't on the last live show, but how's everything going?
Oh, it's good. I talked about it on Tuesday, being back for Black History Month. Like it was important for me to be back, obviously, but definitely miss working with all of you at the same time. Are you speaking to me, Miss Marcangelo? But if so,
well, she's definitely not talking to me, dude.
Yeah, and it's not me either because she doesn't like me and Mike the same amount.
Gotcha. Right. Well, Miss Marcangelo, I appreciate you, and I am happy to be back as well. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It's like that Ric Flair turn, with the, with the tear in my eye.
Ray, just so you know, we're happy to have you, whether it's February or August or any other one of the months.
No, it just adds to the joke, but
it does.
Definitely good to be back and ready to get into it.
Bobby, how we doing out there in New York?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm ready to get into this. Ready to be sad and break down our Celtics a little bit. I'm in a solemn mood because of it. Thank you. I busted out the T-Row because, listen, we could use a little T-Row in our lives right now.
I'm surprised it doesn't have burn marks in it after the last couple of weeks.
Bobby, just a quick question.
It almost
did you wear that shirt the night that he went 1 of 144 from the field in Game 7? Or?
I did actually, and I bought it 3 days before that. So it is a little bit of a cursed shirt, but I figured now, you know what I mean? We might as well reverse the curse at this point. So
yeah.
Dave, what's the past like out in California?
It's good 3 hours ago out here. I'm definitely happy to be back too. Obviously, it's very important for me to be here during Black History Month. Wait, no, that was what Ray said. That's not what I'm supposed to say.
Where are we right now? What?
Sorry, I read the wrong line.
Happened?
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mom. We got 2 moms listening to us, so we're off to a great start. The way we're going. My mom and Mike's mom are in here. So Dave's doing well out there in the past. Mike, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good, dude. I just wish we had something to talk about today. I'm glad all the teams are clicking, and then it's just your average mundane Sunday night sports wrap episode.
Yeah, we don't have anything. We didn't have a rundown done on Wednesday afternoon or anything. So, welcome in everybody that's watching us, whether you're on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube Live. We are everywhere. We're trying to get our faces out to all of you in as many places as we can.
Yeah,
so once again,
that is.
Yeah, right. I know. Again, so welcome into the flagship show of the Missing the Point Sports Podcast, the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. And guys, let's get into it because Bobby brought up the solemn mood that he's been in due to the team that wears green in the town of Boston. The Boston Celtics. Guys, what's next for the Celtics? They're 16-17. They're 2-3 in their last 5. They're 4-6 in their last 10. At least they're consistent. The only good number I can give you is that they're 12-10 against the East, which makes them 4-7 against the Western Conference. They play Washington. They'll actually start that about halfway through this show. And if you are listening to this podcast after we record it, so after Sunday, you can find the recording of this down in the show notes to be able to watch our beautiful faces after the fact. So, Mike, I know our moms will be doing that. But getting back to the Celtics, guys, what's next for this team and where are we going? Because we've all been pretty fired up about this, and I know we have a lot to say.
I think just to make everybody feel better, just so you guys know, even if we were as good this year as we were last year, we wouldn't be good enough. It's going into this season with the way that the trades happened. Why are you making a face? What did I miss here?
It sounds like we got Jumanji in the background right now.
Yeah, somebody who's banging on stuff.
Oh, you know what that is? That's my child. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay, good.
All right.
Way to bring a soundtrack.
About the Celtics too.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what it is.
All right. Apologies to everybody for the sound interference, but we're going to try and muscle through the soundtrack.
We've never had a problem with the ambulances going by your apartment. So
I mean, what do you want me to do about that? You can discipline your child. I can't discipline fucking EMTs. Okay. I mean, it's not quite the same thing. I don't support corporal punishment, for the record.
We don't either.
Discussing the Celtics. I'm just kidding. It's fine. Children be children. But yeah, we were never going to be good enough this year. I said it at the start of the season, and I'm going to keep bringing this up just because I like being right about stuff. If we drafted those draft picks and didn't convert them into a big third piece for Tatum and Brown to use, then this was going to be what happens. I didn't think we were going to absolutely trip over our own dicks this much, but here we are. Thankfully, there's only 2, maybe 3 tier 1 teams in the NBA right now. And it's, the Lakers, the Nets, maybe the Clippers. I don't know about you guys, but the Bucks don't seem there still to me. I think that I think they'll have a good regular season and I think they'll crap out in the playoffs again. I don't think they use Giannis right. He's taking threes at the end of games. Come on, go ahead. But we were never going to really be good enough. So we're basically looking at trying to keep Brown and Tatum for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And we're going to still be in a rebuild. When the third Hall of Famer landed in Brooklyn, that was when it ended for us this year to win a championship. So it really doesn't matter that much, being this bad just kind of means our draft stock is rising. So don't worry about it too much. I know it hurts to watch them, but there's positives in the future coming.
I was going to say they're really bad. We know that their shortcomings last season were the fact that they can't hold on to a fourth quarter lead. We get it. We understood it. We saw it a lot, right? But I think I can speak for everyone here when we did not assume a 16-17 start through 33 games, right? We probably thought,
especially after they started 7-3, and we were all kind of happy about that.
And I think with this team, right, you either get one of two things: either they're down 14 points in the fourth, or they're up 24 they're down 14 points in the first and they come back, or they're down they're up 24 in the fourth and they lose. It's the most consistently inconsistent basketball that we've seen from them. And I think Bobby hit the nail on the head when we were talking about this before. They're just not fun to watch anymore, right? There are moments when you see the team that you love and they put it together and they make a run. And then every single time in the fourth, if they have a lead, they squander it. And I'm just sick of watching that. I hope they can turn it around. Where do they go from here, Joe? Hopefully we've seen their floor. I don't think we have, though. I think that they could play worse, if that even is comprehensible to you. But I hope they get better.
So we have a comment regarding Kyrie Irving, and Bobby and Ray. Before you go, I want to interject with that comment that was made to us, and the comment that Dave just made about the third Hall of Famer landing in Brooklyn. Wyc Grousbeck was on the radio last week, of course, the owner of the Boston Celtics. He was quoted as saying, "We had hoped that Kyrie Irving would stay forever and lead us all the way. That change touched off a lot of stuff because he left. A bit of a domino effect." Ray, talk to me about
That's a really stupid thing to say. I'm just going to interject.
Sure. No, I have a lot of quotes to read, and this is one of them. But Wyc clearly wanted to keep Kyrie around. So Ray, tell me
Thanks,
about
Wyc.
that.
That's really helpful, Wick.
Well, so this goes. So no. But you know what? But I'll interject too, because this goes back to the issue that I've had with this team is the ownership and the GM. Because that's always where I go. I don't touch the coach before I go to the GM and the owner. So Wick coming out and saying this, he has created a problem, and we'll get to that when we get to the quotes from Danny Ainge this week. Because now Danny Ainge, what is Danny Ainge going to do? Go above the head of the owner of his employer?
That's really where the shortcoming is to me. Is like it's very clear in the same problem. It's been the same problem since last year. Is that we don't have that guy in the rotation that drops everyone into the spots they're supposed to be at. Like if we had that guy that fits there right before Kemba or right after, when it comes to minutes, when it comes to touches, then this team falls into place into spots where they belong. Like having Peyton Pritchard as a 9 coming off the bench rather than a 6 or a 7, that's a big difference. So I think that's where it goes to Ainge, because it's like, dude, you failed to bring that guy in that we knew that we needed, and we've known that we've needed for the past year and a half. And it's like time and time again, we hear about these deals. We hear about these guys, the Miles Turner, the Doug McDermotts, you know what I mean? Those solid role players that we should be bringing in here. But it's just not happening year in and year out. And it's frustrating beyond belief to me.
Right, I'm looking right into
you have 2 all-stars on your team. You know what I mean? It's not all doom and gloom. You have 2 all-stars on your team. You can do stuff. You know what I mean? It's like everything we talk about is based around the idea that you want to build around Tatum and Brown, especially now. It's such a weird thing, right? Because all you ever see, I'm sure you guys saw it watching them play the Pacers. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? It was like Tatum, career year. Brown, career year. Celtics, stinking up the place. You know what I mean? And it's like, it barely makes sense, in your head when you think about it. It's like, you have these 2 guys who have been good for a long time, going up a level at the same time and finally reaching the place where we were all hoping, praying, expecting for them to reach. And everything seems to be falling apart around them. And it's like, dead weight is an issue on this team. There's too many players on this team and I know Ray's made this point a lot of times, there's too many players on this team taking up minutes that are absolute passengers, that like just are absolute traffic cones. They do nothing for us. I know I was big on Jeff T because he had that one good game, but he had literally, I've never jinxed someone so badly in my entire life. Like I went off on Jeff T in our group chat, and he literally, it's like somebody like replaced it, like his soul with another person's. Like he's been so terrible. Tristan Thompson has good games, but I think that like he's a little bit slow for Brad's team. Robert Williams is inconsistent. It's just like, I love Robert Williams, by the way. Like he's one of the ones I would keep, but it's like these minutes are just being wasted on a lot of these guys, and it's just like I just think we have to clean house with everybody but Tatum and Brown, and like I also would like to keep Robert Williams, but I don't know. Ray, you were going to say something.
Yeah, thanks for having me. No, I'm sorry. No, the thing is, obviously, we've harped on Tatum and Brown being young guys, but they're obviously with Brown being 24 and then Tatum being 22. I think he'll be 23 in a few days. Those 2 guys already as young guys know what their role is, right? But you have so many guys on the team like Dave just alluded to that are just I said placeholders. They're trash. So that's the problem. That's the absolute problem in my opinion. So I don't know what they're going to do as far as bringing someone in here, but they need to maybe go back to what they were in 2016, 2017, right? So that team, had the Jay Crowders, had, obviously Al Horford was already established, but the reason why I brought that team up, you had a lot of guys on that team that knew that role and knew their role on that team. So when you have guys that know their role, that's just fine. You can have 2 all-stars all day. There's other teams that have talented players, but the pieces around them don't fit. And that's what's happening right now.
That's on Brad, though, right? It's like that's on Brad because it's like he doesn't. Well, it is. His rotations are trash. His minute allocations are trash, and like nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing.
But what do you do? Sorry, but what do you do when it's like you have to depend on the Carson Edwards? You have to depend on the Tremont Waters. That's wild. It's not like he's saying, "Hey, go give me this particular." Now, if he is, then hate to see it, but it's like, damn, like really, like I have to depend on the Shemi. I have to depend on the Carson. I have to depend on a top of ball. That's a problem.
Lately, but there was a period where we had guys playing, guys like Jeff Teague, who was averaging like -3 points a game, playing, in 19 minutes at that point, and like coming in crunch time. And, it's just like a lot of those rotations in that period of the season when we first started to slump, that was on him, and it's just like, and I think that hit the confidence of everybody. And also, and I will say this, and I think that this does need to be said. It's not an excuse, but Tatum had COVID, and you don't know. Everybody gets affected by that differently, and his game has not been the same since he's come back. I think he's going to be fine, and I think he's going to come back, as the same player he was prior to that happening. I think you can already see that happening, but that has affected us. He is our best player. So when, arguably our best player, you can argue over who our most important player is, but like offensively, Jason Tatum is so important for us that if he's not playing up to scratch, the whole system falls apart. You know what I mean? It's like, we talk about domino effects. It's like, I will say this also. Why are you talking about Kyrie Irving, Wick? What good is that going to do for us?
Well, he was asked a question.
I know he's asking a question, but you're not fucking media trained. Like, you're the head of the whole organization. You can't dodge that question.
He could, but he's a business. But this is the problem I'm talking about, Dave. I don't disagree. It doesn't help, but this is part of the other problem. And Ray, it's interesting you mentioned the rotations and everything else, and the players and the talent, because last week you had Brad out the door. We'll come back to that.
I still do. Yeah.
I want to touch on what Dave just said about the COVID issues, because this was actually brought up to me this week by somebody who was extremely close to the Boston Celtics back in the day, and that was the first thing he said to me was, look at Cam Newton. What happened to Cam Newton after he had COVID? The team was it was a shell of itself, the entire team, because it was the guy, right? In the NFL, in football, the quarterback is the guy. Well, Jason Tatum is the guy in green for the Celtics. So if he goes down and he's not playing well, it's going to affect everybody around him. So maybe in time, this team will turn around, because a 72-game season is a much longer period of time to turn around than a 16-game season. With that said, Danny Ainge this week on Toucher and Rich on 98.5 The Sports Hub said that he doesn't feel that this roster is good enough, but also expects them to contend this season. He also said, I'm not going to make a move for the sake of making a move, and added, this is a me problem. So, Dave, you want to talk about deflecting and
but that's what you have to say, right? Because if he comes on Toucher and Rich and he goes, we got to make a move, dude, we're desperate, then you just you absolutely bang. Like, everyone knows you're desperate. When you say it out loud, you bang up all your negotiating power with any other GM, where it's just like, we know you're desperate. We know we have you over a barrel, so we get to finally fleece the guy that's like the most famous fleecer in the entire league. Everybody, we've talked endlessly about Danny being in those positions where people don't want to deal with him because they're worried that they're going to get stolen from, like it happened to Brooklyn. But then it really turned out that wasn't that bad of a trade for Brooklyn, because they have 3 Hall of Famers on their team right now and we're trash. But at the end of the day, if you're Danny, you can't say anything other than that. You just can't, because otherwise you're showing your hand to everybody. I would not be surprised if he goes, yeah, we're definitely not going to make a move, and then he makes 2 moves. I think, honestly, what their goal right now, though, is to just be profitable. Try and make the playoffs, try and get the TV money in the playoffs, and hopefully be able to make some moves, because we're not in the luxury tax, right? We're not getting luxury tax right now.
No.
So, I think that they're prepared to go into the luxury tax area once they're ready to. I think that's going to be the signal, where it's like, we sign that one guy, puts us over, and we're making a push now. But at this point, every franchise got hit by no fans in the stands last year. Everybody's probably hemorrhaging money, in every single sport. You haven't seen big blockbuster trades for that reason. You haven't seen big blockbuster free agency signings like we were at the rate we pre-COVID for that reason. So I know it's a boring take, but I think we just need to be a little bit patient. We have a 24 and a 22-year-old. We have 24 and 22-year-old all-stars on our team. They're the future. If we can keep them, we're going to be all right. And also, Jesus, man, how long are Brooklyn going to stay together? Because we're not going to beat Tatum and Brown are not going to be able to beat those 3 for the foreseeable future, if you ask me. Not to be negative Nancy over here, but
Dave, you can't say that, bro, because you was the first one. You've been saying this the last 2 or 3 months. So actually, matter of fact, we had an argument on the live show about this. You were like, "Well, how long are we going to wait?" You were the main one that said that. So
yeah, but now we have to wait. But now we're in the position where we have to wait. I was like, I want to trade these positions. I want to trade these picks to make a move now and try and make a run. And now I'm just accepting the fact that we're not there. We're not going to be contenders. I said that before James Harden got to Brooklyn. It's like now the East is locked up. The East is completely locked up. What do you want us to do about it? We're not going to win it. We're not going to win the East now.
The thing is,
but you can't tank it, though. Go ahead, Bobby.
When
I'm not saying tank it. I didn't say tank it.
Because it's definitely not a tank, because when the bench guys do show up, that's the thing. Is you're right. You're right to a point. I'm very disappointed. I can't even watch this team right now. But at the same time, when that bench does show up and they play basketball they're capable of playing, when they play up to their potential, they're a solid basketball team. They can beat some of the better teams in the NBA.
What's their ceiling? Their ceiling?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know what the ceiling is, but when you have Robert Williams coming off the bench and putting up 14, 11, 4, and 3, like that's
okay.
Amazing.
But say you but this is what I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Take every single player on this team. They're playing their absolute best. They're playing the best they possibly can. We're still not going to get past the Brooklyn Nets, and we're still not going to beat the Lakers in the finals. So we need to still add a piece to this team. So I think what Danny Ainge is saying, I think makes a lot of sense to me, where it's like, okay, it's become clear now to us that we're not quite where we thought we were. The East has strengthened to a point that has left us behind a little bit with like the way that we were rotating. The West is incredibly strong. So whoever we face coming out of there, if we were to make it out of the East, is likely to beat us. With that accepted reality, I know it's not a fun thing to say on a sports show because we want to be like, yay, hooray, let's watch the Celtics and talk about them and like get subscribers. But it's just my honest opinion where it's like, it's the how long are we going to wait thing. I hope we keep them at this point. I hope we keep them long enough to make a real championship run because it's with just the two of them. Do you know what I mean, Ray? It's like we have to add a third piece. Our value sucks right now. Like we would be trading away the farm right now because everyone's playing like shit. You have to get these players to play better in order to like trade them for anything of value or like trade. Do you know what I mean?
So let me ask you this question then, right? So Kemba, we know Kemba has not played back-to-backs. Kemba's played basically every other game, right? Now, obviously, when we saw for him Friday night, Mike said it first. Mike said, this is the Kemba we need, right?
He had a good game.
32 points. Yeah. Right. So, but I mean, the last 5 or 6 games, though, he's had about
He's been getting better.
He's been getting better. So my thing is, do you let him play every game so that you get his value up and you could package him as smart to another team and your first round pick next year to get somebody? Because that's the only way. That's the only way you're going to get some pieces back to build around Tatum and Brown, in my opinion.
Well,
so what
not to answer your question with a question, but do you think that absolute best Kemba, absolute best 24-year-old Brown, absolute best 22-year-old Tatum can beat Harden, Irving, and Durant all healthy in the playoffs? Because I just don't. I'd have to say yes. I'd have to say you do have to try to trade Kemba because this was like when we in our heads had Kemba, Tatum, and Brown going into the bubble playoffs, and you said it yourself, and it was a very good point. This was our opportunity. And like, look how true that's become because the Brooklyn Nets, they didn't look like they look now, because we knew that those two were coming back and then Harden showed up and it's like, holy shit, there's 3 of them. Durant can take a fucking vacation, Irving can take a vacation and they can still win games. They just need one of those guys in the regular season. It's just like, I know it's disappointing, but it's like at our best. Yes. The answer to your question is yes. I think you have to get his trade value up and then trade him. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Well, what's interesting to me is to bring up. We've now brought up Kyrie. The only guy that we haven't brought up that was supposed to be that third piece, and I'm going to lead into to my analysis by saying that is Gordon Hayward. Okay, we can't say that they haven't tried to bring in that third piece. They tried to do it with Kyrie because Kyrie was a bona fide winner. He had won in Cleveland. Then they tried to do it with Hayward because they figured Hayward was a bigger guy, but also he was Brad's guy. Freak injury. I mean, Kyrie just didn't work out because I think Kyrie and Brad are like oil and water. Hayward didn't work out because of a freak injury. They bring in damaged goods and Kemba Walker thinking he's going to be ready to go by the start of the season when he gets there, and he wasn't. Then he gets re-injured. So we can't say that they haven't tried to bring in the third guy. The problem is that when they do bring that third guy in, they still extend the bench too far. So you're giving those minutes away. It goes back to that power struggle I brought up last week on the show. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things, right? I think when I see that message, I'm not going to make a move for the sake of making a move. When I read that, when I hear that, I hear Danny saying, I'm not going to trade anyone unless I can absolutely fleece the other team. That's what he's been doing. So he kind of
nobody has value right now.
But I'm just telling you, like, when I hear that like he does not do a trade unless he absolutely wins, and I get it, but that's only happened a couple times so far. Also, I'm not sure that if Kemba's at his best, Jalen's at his best, and Jason is at his best, if they don't beat Brooklyn because James Harden doesn't show up in the playoffs, just doesn't. And I think I think
talking about one game 7. You're like, if it's like that one game 7, he missed some shots, and all of a sudden it's a
few. It's not just one game. It's not one game.
I think that's a very dangerous position to take. I think that James Harden with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving is going to fucking show up in the playoffs.
The thing is,
he doesn't have to. Right. He has KD and Irving. It doesn't matter.
That's what it comes down to. Is he doesn't
don't show up
anymore.
It's fine.
He doesn't need to anymore. Is because he's got those two. But if it's this version of Harden is one of the most dangerous basketball players I've ever seen in my life.
It's crazy.
He's unbelievable right now. Where he's playing defense.
He has a point to prove.
It's a different Harden version that we didn't
going,
see
Bobby.
in Houston. It's not the ISO Harden. It's
funny.
I'm going to be an actual point guard. He's honestly taking the identity of what his coach used to be. He looks like, listen, I've told you guys, I've come back on that take many times. If that's the Harden that we got, all day, man.
It's not the Harden we would have gotten, though. It's not the Harden we would have gotten.
Because listen, man, this guy.
We know that because he's playing with KD and Kyrie Irving.
But but he doesn't even need those two right now. It's like Kyrie
doesn't, but he's still not the best out of those three. Do you see what I'm saying? If he
he's definitely Boston, not. I agree.
But if he comes to Boston,
he's injured.
He is the guy if he comes to Boston. So this is how I know, right? Because to Mike's point, saying that if he goes when he goes to the playoffs, he's nothing. When was the last time he was with two young guys on a team and they were supposed to go all the way and didn't? I believe that's the team that Ray and I were trying to ban, right? Was that Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I mean, when they got there, and
they were all young.
He choked in the finals, though. He choked in the finals. I have to say that he did choke in the finals. He did.
But that's my point. Is he doesn't have to be
that Houston series against Golden State. They should have won that series too, and he absolutely.
I mean, which year?
That was him.
He faced him 3 times.
Both years. There was 2 years where they had them up against the ropes, and James Harden just went ice cold. And there was that last game 7 where
you're talking about you're leveling the criticism at James Harden. I'm not trying to defend James Harden here, but I do think he's like maybe one of the best, if not the best offensive basketball players of all time. And I think that you're leveling the criticism at James Harden that he didn't beat a generationally good Golden State Warriors team. Like everybody holds these two thoughts in their head at the same time. That's the best team I've seen in my lifetime. And James Harden sucks because he couldn't beat them. Like, how can both things be true? You know what I mean? It's like, I know that he went cold. I know that I understand that like he went cold and like, he had his opportunity, didn't take those opportunities. And I do understand that criticism, but I mean, Jesus, it's the Golden State Warriors. Like they're going to punish you when that stuff happens. Like there's times where it doesn't happen to him. And it's, it just comes back to the fact that he's very good at basketball. And I think locker room chemistry is less of a thing in basketball than it is in other sports. I think what matters is how good your guys are. And when you can get a guy, and Ray and I agreed on this when the trade rumors were happening with Harden, when you can get a guy as good as James Harden, you go get him. You do everything. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. I absolutely do not regret going to get Kyrie Irving because you're an idiot if you don't try and make that trade. It's like, I understand it didn't work out, but you got to do everything you can to go get him because he's Kyrie Irving. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I'll say this, and I did appreciate your point, Joe, about trying to go get the third piece. And it's not that easy. You know what I mean? I mean, this isn't a market that people like love coming to. We know that about Boston. People have seen it not work out with Kyrie, et cetera. But with Hayward, I see a lot of people on Celtics Twitter, which we've talked about how Celtics Twitter is a fucking swamp, but I see a lot of people on Celtics Twitter, being like, oh, look, great job trading or getting rid of Hayward or letting him go because look how well he's playing down south. It's like, no, I mean, that happens all the time. He needed to change the scenery for that to happen.
That's different. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, he's had a
if you watch the Hornets, they run offense around Gordon Hayward.
And he makes the way he wants to. And 100%. And like, he needed to change his scenery. I mean, like it was like the first few minutes of his Boston career when that ankle happened.
Yeah.
The dude just had if he had any luck in Boston, it was bad luck. And it's it
wasn't happening in Boston.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be there. Agreed.
And I don't criticize Danny for that. I don't criticize him for trading for Kyrie Irving. I don't criticize him for trading for Gordon Hayward. A lot of bad luck and did what they were exactly supposed to do. So I disagree. I don't level it on Danny Ainge because I think he's made all the choices that we wanted him to make up until this point. Yeah, were you right about Turner and how he was getting a little greedy on the trade? You absolutely were. But in his head, he was thinking, I can go and get Tristan Thompson, and that's a decent alternative without having to give up the farm. And we all agreed that was a decent alternative at the time. It may not have necessarily worked out that way, but we did at the time say, well, I mean, Tristan Thompson's fair enough, and we got him for free. So he's making the choices we want him to make. So the blame game's we're not there yet, I don't think. And I think in 3 years when we have a championship contention team, because we're a little bit patient, maybe we'll be with Danny at that point.
When you bring up Celtics Twitter, so yes, their take that they should have gotten Gordon Hayward is great because he was gone. He was leaving no matter what. But
for sure,
I feel like it's like
everybody wanted him out, by the way.
That's what they're missing, though, and I feel like that's really what Celtics Twitter is upset about. Is they're missing what Gordon Hayward brought to this team. Where it was like
that same Twitter fan base was talking shit about Gordon Hayward throughout the entire playoffs, though.
That's the piece they're missing, though, where it's that guy that can give them those minutes, and you can depend on what he's going to give you every single night. And it's like you're putting him in for 10 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists every night, no matter what. And that's the guy they're missing right now. Whether it be playmaking, whether it be defense, they're missing the Gordon Hayward energy, and it's so obvious. That's what's missing from this team. But when you watch them every night, you're like, they're just missing something. And that to me is what it is.
Right, but that's why they're a lot of people on Twitter and then like the media pundits like Forsberg and Scal and some other guys, like they're clamoring for the Celtics to go get Harrison Barnes because that's it. Right now, if you look at his numbers in Sacramento, 17, 6, and 5. Oh, there was another guy here that averaged 17, 6, and 5 last year, Gordon Hayward. So that's exactly, and that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that's what you said, DK, but that's why you can't necessarily punt on the season, because if you get a guy that's going to get you 17, 6, and 5 to match when Kemba's not on, or Tatum and Brown are not on, depending on the night, then you can still beat most teams. And then you get Smart back that's healthy, and then you do what you said, Bobby. Now, instead of paying Pritchard being the 6th guy, now he's 8 and 9. And now your front 7, not front 7, I'm thinking football still, but your first 7 to 8 off the bench, right, exactly. But it's like, then you have, Kemba, Smart, Tatum, Brown, Thompson, Harrison Barnes, and it's like now that pushes everybody back down. Now we're talking about something, but until you get that kind of piece, you can't get that. Yeah,
right. And it brings it full circle to those.
I'm not saying punt on the season though. I can't. I'm not saying punt on the season. I'm not saying like let's tank. Let's get a high draft pick.
16 and 17 in 6th place in the East.
I'm not saying that. But the thing is, as we sit here right now, you and I are in agreement. All of our guys have lowered in value. So there's no point in trading anybody right now because we're gonna get absolutely fucking fleeced, right?
The only two guys that have value are Pritchard and Williams. Those are the only two.
Yeah, I mean, Pritchard has value to you because you have his poster up above your bed, but no, Peyton Pritchard's very good, and I hope in 3 or 4 years, like he's a big piece of the team. But right now, I'm just saying right now, right this second, we're all in agreement that we agree with Danny Ainge. We can't really make a trade right now, because we're going to get lower value for our money. We've got a dent in the car. And if you get the dent fixed, you'll get more money for it because it's just going to look a little bit better. Now, Ray's saying we shouldn't trade later. We should see the ceiling of this team out, get that one more piece and see who we can beat. And I'm saying now that the Nets look as they do and the Lakers look as they do, maybe that's not the route to go. It doesn't really matter. We can just see how it plays out at this point,
I had Jessica Alba's poster from Sin City above my bed.
Not Dark Angel? It wasn't. You didn't go Dark
No,
Angel?
that was a little bit before Sin City. It wasn't much long, but
you had Jessica Alba. I had Alan Alda, so similar.
Very similar. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's close.
Big MASH fan.
Yeah. But,
oh my God!
So all right, so staying with the Celtics theme.
Double entendre.
Staying with the Celtics theme. Against looking at what Danny Ainge was saying this week when asked multiple times. When he was asked if they could have done things differently, him specifically, he said, "There are things, but I won't address those because they involve people. I don't like to point fingers. There are choices we made that could have made a difference." What's
he talking about?
He misfired on Hayward. Like that's just what it is.
That's the big one.
Just come out and say
that.
Yeah. We know.
Just come out and say that. Like Joe, you had it right. You said this is all the things that he could do, but he's not going to do it.
But no, I don't agree. Because Ray just made that point.
You cannot agree after I'm done, though.
17, 5, and 4. We liked it. We liked 17, 5, and 4.
He missed on getting the return for Hayward and just letting him go for free. He should have done the trade with Indiana. There should have been something.
Sorry, I think that's
Yeah, no. There should have been something more. So like when he says that he missed on people, that's what he missed on.
I don't know if that's what he means.
I don't think that is.
I think he means Kyrie Irving's a dick. I think that's what he means.
We all know that.
But the thing, like when it comes to the Gordon Hayward, is like I feel like Gordon got that offer and he was going. You know what I mean? Even if Danny was being greedy, I feel like that Indiana thing was overblown.
I thought he wanted to go to Indiana.
He did, but as soon as Gordon Hayward was getting 28, what is he getting now? $25 million a year. As soon as he got that offer, man, it's all over. You know what I mean? Then right,
we said that we were like, if someone's going to overpay for him,
it doesn't matter, right? So,
but it doesn't look like an overpayment now.
It really doesn't. I feel like it's a Kemba thing. I feel like it is a Kyrie thing. I feel like he just regrets not making that move. And just, I feel like he does look at this team and he gets frustrated because that's what he has now. And it's not what he wanted this team to be. You know what I mean? Because there were so many moves he could have made and he didn't. And this is the team he has now.
If our leadership is still this hung up on the fact that Kyrie Irving's not here, we have a big problem. Like, if they can't move on, we have a huge problem.
Right, but is that the message, though, Mike? Like, is the message like, I don't know, man, our plan with this team really heavily involved Kyrie Irving, and we're really not sure what to do now?
Well, Wick said it.
Yeah,
but I think Danny was saying the same thing. He's like, oh, the things involve people. The people was Kyrie Irving. He's like, Kyrie Irving's a tool. That's what he was saying.
Because Danny Ainge did his media after Wick. So that's what I was talking about. And another interesting question came up in that same interview with Danny, and that's kind of where I'll go with this conversation, Dave, now, is that they asked him, were you uncomfortable when Wyc Grousbeck came out and talked about personnel, playing time, all these other things that really are 2 levels below him, right? Even though they're not, it's his team. But that's exactly what Danny said. Danny said, well, it's his team. He can say whatever he wants. But I also feel now, thinking about it and listening to what you were saying, Dave, is that's just lip service, because it's not how he feels, and Wyc Grousbeck blew up his spot and really put him in a position. But rest assured, guys, Wyc Grousbeck has full confidence in and made a commitment to Ainge and Stevens staying in Boston. And Danny Ainge, on Toucher and Rich, when asked about Stevens' future as the Celtics head coach, denied any chance of there being a change. So Ray, no Sam Cassell.
Yeah, no. It's not a shocker though. Ooh. Yeah. I said it on the Tuesday show. That'd be in the show notes as well. But that's the problem. Like, it's ridiculous to me. But then I thought about it. He's only had 2 coaches in his tenure here. You know, it was Doc Rivers for 9 years, and I like Stevens ever since. So
I like giving coaches time to build a culture. You know what I mean? I think the worst thing that he said there is he packaged Danny and Brad together. That's a little disconcerting to me, because I think that's him saying like
they can do no wrong.
One goes,
if one goes, both go, and I don't agree with that.
One's the other. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't either.
Let me go to Logan right now. Come on, Mike. Let's go drive them.
Well, of course, that's what he's going to say, though, because any coach listen, the fact that the question is being asked and you hear they're both safe, you know what that tells me? They're not safe. You know what I mean? Like, anytime that happens in a market where you're directly asking a GM and an owner, are these guys safe? And they're saying, yes, they're safe, instead of scoffing at it, instead of being like, are you kidding? You know what I mean? There's so many other answers besides, yes, these are my guys. And it's like, when I hear that from an owner, those aren't your guys. I'm sorry.
If you ask that question, if the answer is yes, they're safe, then they're not safe. And if the answer is no, they're not safe, then they're definitely not safe. So like, you're fucking damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because it's like, you need to be like, of course, what a stupid question that was. Like, otherwise it's like, ooh, uh-oh. Now it sounds like a press release, you know?
It's like when Jerry Jones, not to always go back to this, but when Jerry Jones was asked about Jason Garrett over the years, it was never he's safe. It was he's Cowboys family. He is here. Jason Garrett is part of this. It wasn't,
yeehaw,
he's safe, right? It wasn't he's safe. He's this. It was this is what's happening.
I just always picture Jerry Jones doing finger guns, like dancing.
Always.
Texas Tech, guns up.
You know what?
He's going guns up, bro. Guns up
forever.
You know what would be a hell of a party is Jerry Jones and Jim Irsay. But anyway, moving on to free agents. We can get back to that conversation later. But free agents in the NBA. So regardless of, hey, look, if Wick gets rid of Brad and Danny and says, I'm taking over the team, would you guys want, I'm just going to, without cutting too many corners here, would you guys want Isaiah Thomas and or DeMarcus Cousins on this team right now?
I'd rather have Cousins.
That would just be
Thomas.
admitting defeat.
Yeah. So that's the end of that conversation.
I mean, it's a lot.
How cheap can you get
It's a loaded
Boogie?
question. He's basically guaranteed for 2.3 because that's what Houston guaranteed him once he got signed on. But I mean, obviously, if you can get him around the same amount, if not lower, that's even better. I think people miss the spirit that IT and his teams brought to Boston, so that's why we're so hooked on it, right? You know, it's just like obviously defensively, no, it doesn't make sense to bring him here, not defensively, but just that guy that okay, if I give him the ball in the fourth quarter, it's IT time. He's not going to fade away.
And his shot was nice. His shot.
Yeah,
was
so
nice,
you
watching him in the playoffs go 1-on-1 with John Wall and winning was like
it was
the most fun I've had watching the Celtics in the last decade.
That game too.
Kelly Olynyk MVP chance game 7. Come on.
Yeah, that was insane.
Let's go.
That was insane.
Those teams were fun to watch. They were, they were plucky. They were young. They were plucky. Like, but Brad was still. We weren't.
The guys knew their role.
Yet. Everybody knew their role exactly.
They had the role. They had the guys that you could trust 5, 6, 7, 8. They had Crowder. They had Evan Turner. They had Avery Bradley. Guys, when they checked in the game, you weren't like, oh shit, fuck, here comes Javonte Green. Oh my God, here come. I mean, Javonte didn't play bad the other night, but oh no, here comes fucking T. You know what I mean? There's guys that check in. Right, there's guys that check in on the Celtics right now where you're like, dude, why? All right. Here goes.
I agree with that point about the energy, man, because we need a winner. We need somebody that can come in on a spark.
But if we're gonna get a point, we need a distribution point guard. That's the guy we need. We need someone that's gonna create the shot for Tatum and Brown rather than
on Pritchard though, because Pritchard's ceiling.
Right, exactly. Because if you have someone in there listen, I don't disagree with that take. I don't know if you guys saw it, where someone said that the reason Brown and Tatum aren't elite is because they don't create and make the game easier and better for everyone else.
Not every night. That's the problem. Not every night.
Right.
They do it, but it's not every night.
If you brought in someone who that is their sole focus and you set these two up to be them, let them score 30 points and get 16 assists out of, I'm just going to throw it out there, Rondo.
Yep, exactly. Like Bingo. Yep.
That is
That's
a guy
exactly who needs to come.
that could take this team to what we think they can be. Because when you have someone setting them up for 30 to 40 points on a nightly basis and not only going to be trying to get them their shot, but that is his only focus. We've seen that from Rondo before, where it's almost the downside of his game, where all he does is set.
No, I'm here for that. That's exactly who they need. That's exactly who they need. Before the other night.
Before Dave's head explodes and he goes off about Rondo, I just want to say I think that we look back on those Celtics teams from like the early Brad Stevens era and we said they were fun to watch. They were, but that's because they had no expectations, none, and they always exceeded. When you put pressure on them, they can't meet it. So yeah, it was cool. Like they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was awesome here. I love it. But that was not a winning team. You could not win a championship with that team. We knew it. We know it now. And then we were in the moment because they just over exceeded expectations that were so low.
We came close with that team. Though.
If you took that bench, listen. If you took
an injury away,
that was during and put them with this starting lineup.
They win a championship. Yeah.
We're in fucking. If you give me Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and Kelly Olynyk coming off the bench, we're in business, man. That's the bench we need. Listen, I don't love Jay Crowder either, but I love Jay Crowder as my 7th guy coming. Right.
Off the bench.
That's perfect. That's what it is. It's like when you look at it, if you take.
It's like you guys weren't there watching him just like jack up bricks.
He definitely had moments where you're like, you scratch your head, but it was like, once again, him being your 7th or 8th guy as opposed to freaking Shemi Ojale or Jeff Teague. My God. Like, and once again,
it's tough to keep guys like that though. It's tough to keep them when they get a little bit better and like, they are they're good role players for a reason. And it's like tough to keep them when you're trying to like build something over 4 or 5 years. Can we go back to the Rondo thing for a second?
Come here. Let's talk about it.
There's like a little green man that's like my Celtics fan that like lives inside me, and you guys were like Rajon Rondo, and like my brain just started flashing images of like Rajon Rondo like standing still, just picking out like dimes to Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce.
Dude,
times we never thought would go away, like just such a different time of my life. I'm like 18, everything's great. got my whole life ahead of me, and Rajon Rondo is just like not running, just throwing like a quarterback on the court. And I'm like, yes, give me that again for that one brief moment. And then I remembered that he's a million and he doesn't do that anymore. It's just like, no, but he's not the same guy.
No, he was really good with LA last year. He was really good with LA.
Yeah, but he was playing I understand what you're coming from, Dave. Like, we don't need him to be the guy in 2010 to get you that when they got 29, 18, and 13 in Game 4 against Cleveland. We don't need that guy. We don't need the guy that got 44 and 12 against the Heat. We don't need that guy.
I would like that guy.
Of course. But
that was such a good Rondo. That was unbelievable. I remember that when he was dropping three.
It was just TV Rondo. It was TV Rondo. I was like, why can't you always do that?
It was unbelievable.
Right. But that
was when I remember a Facebook post came up where I was like literally preaching that Rondo's like the future of the NBA. I was like, if this dude can develop that 3-point shot like that, it's over.
He's ridiculous. So it's just like, that's the thing. Like, we just need someone that's going to say, hey, you're going to be in the spot. You're going to be in that spot, and just find it. And just make the game easier for our 2 stars. That's what we need.
You know for a fact that the Celtics fan base will not be able to accept Rajon Rondo in that role. You know for a fact that when Rajon Rondo comes back,
don't watch.
It's going to be Rondo's back. Like,
don't watch. That's fine. Don't watch.
But it's just like,
no, I'm not saying you. I'm saying anybody that feels that way, that doesn't have a sense of IQ in their brain. Like, don't watch it then. Forget it. Like, Rondo is a basketball savant when it comes to moving the basketball. Yeah. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. So so it's like, let that go. Let it go.
Right. And it's like that's it. They don't have anyone on that team that's that role. Kemba's not a creation point guard. He's not a playmaking point guard. He never will be. It's never what he was. He's a scorer. He's a guy that you can trust to go out and get those points. And yes, Pritchard is that guy. I love Peyton Pritchard. We all know that. But he's not at that level yet. You know what I mean? He can't be that guy that you can rely upon to create for this team on a consistent night in and night basis. It's just not going to happen yet. So if they can get that guy to come in here and be a creator for this team, yeah.
So for you guys, what would be, not to seal this, Joe, but like for you, would you rather have a facilitating point guard that creates a shot for Brown and Tatum, or would you rather have a big man come in that at the end of the game can shore up the paint? I mean, again, Boogie Cousins isn't a defensive savant, right? But he will make you think twice about driving. And he's pretty good right now for what you get him for cheap. So what would you guys rather?
I mean, are we taking a punt on Boogie Cousins? That makes me feel like we've given up. You know what I mean? It's like, let's go get Boogie Cousins and like see what we can do. I think like Ray's right. I think the best thing you do is you just like nurse your wounds right now. I think you try to rehab Kemba, you manage his minutes, you try and get Marcus Smart back fully healthy, you don't rush him back, you don't freak out about the record slide, and you let Tatum and Brown play their game. You know, I think that's the way to do it. If you go get Boogie Cousins, you're rejigging stuff, you're screwing up your minutes rotation again. I just think Danny is right at the end of the day. It's like, you don't make a trade just to make a trade. You don't sign a player just to sign a player. My mom used to bring me to Blockbuster Video, and I would walk around Blockbuster Video, and I would be like, I got to get something. And my mom would be like, you don't. We can just go home and, you can do something else. And I'm like, but we came all the way here. You got to get something.
That's when you rent a video game.
I'd be standing there looking at him and nothing to jump out at me. And you know what I'd end up doing? I'd end up going home with Boogie Cousins. I wouldn't be happy.
Fun fact, I'm on the top 10 wanted list for overdue video rental fees.
There's only one Blockbuster
video rental
in
place.
Oregon. So
all of them. Every single video rental place you could think of, there was like, I walked in there, they're like, bro.
So you put them all out of business. Thanks for that. One time
I wish I could go back in time and just be like, I'm renting all the videos and never giving them back because you're all going out of business in like 8 minutes.
I have lots of old school PS2 games with that Blockbuster video tag on it. You know what I mean? Where they put like that sticker on there.
Bobby, you call them overdue. They call that shoplifting. So there was a time, and it was about 1999. Walked into a Blockbuster Video in Milford, Massachusetts, which is now a Five Guys Burgers and Fries. Neither one of those places are sponsors.
Wait, Milford, Massachusetts is a Five Guys Burgers and Fries?
Yeah, we walked in there and we rented Air Force One with Harrison Ford. Still a great movie.
Great movie.
Harry Oldman incredible in that
great
one.
movie.
And we got home. We started watching it. There was some violence. There was some stabbing. There was some language. And my dad gets up mid-movie and looks at it and goes, oh, I didn't know this was rated R. Well, hell, we're halfway through it now. So, and that was the first time I watched an R-rated movie when I was 10.
Nice. Air Force One. That's a good one. That's a good.
It was with my dad,
one.
so might as well watch it with him and somebody else, right?
That's a good one.
So my thing about the Celtics here is I to go with what Dave just said is we got to give it time.
Good transition.
That's a great transition.
Thank you. If I was going to transition to the NFL, but we're still a little
Just
early.
let him do it.
Why you always got to call me out? All right. Well, so welcome back to the Sunday Night Sports Wrap. It's just me, Dave, and Rayshawn. Mike and Bobby have mysteriously left the show, but no. What I think about this team is I think there's just so many moving parts right now. Whether it comes to guys not being fully healthy, maybe an owner not wanting to spend because there still aren't fans in the stands. Which, as of March 22nd, there will be fans in the stands again. But
you don't want to eat a luxury tax when you're not getting any revenue from ticket sales.
It's true. And you do have $28.5 million in trade exception, which Danny said to the same point Dave and I were talking about. You don't want to make a move to make a move. That doesn't mean he has to make it now. That plays into the offseason as well. And that was kind of what he alluded to, was that there's not much there now. We'll wait and see what we can get down the line. So that go ahead, Bobby.
But yeah, before we transition to NFL, that trade exception, DK, I don't want to shoot down that Bradley Beal theory you had on that pod with me and you.
It's not theory. That was not a theory. That was me going, this would be my best case scenario. I don't think it's realistic.
That's a real thing that, listen, Tatum and Beal are boys. So, like, if there's someone that Tatum's
literally
going
like
to go to Ainge
friends, right?
and be like, listen, you need to go all in to get this dude here, it's Bradley Beal. That's the guy he's going to go and vouch for it and say, this is the guy that's going to take us over the top. Not sure what it's going to take to get him. But if there's someone that he wants, it is him.
If we ever get Bradley Beal with Tatum and Brown still on the team, I will fly to Boston and we are all going yard. All of us. I will go absolutely ape shit. Like, I'm getting on a plane that day. That is a solemn promise. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be unbelievable.
Walk into Danny's office, be like, listen, missing the point. We're here for
we're with the band. Don't worry.
I am also a fan of Bradley Beal because, like Stan Lee, I very much enjoy alliterations in names. So, what are our final thoughts on the NBA and the Celtics? This is the third time that
was a total. That was a Marvel joke, guys. If you didn't understand,
I'm with
that.
It was marvelous.
Future podcast foreshadow is what that is. Marvel.
Yeah. Is this where you guys tell me that this is just a Word document and not a real podcast?
Yeah, Joe wanted to have a podcast, but we wouldn't let those dangerous thoughts on the internet. So we just kind of opened up a private Zoom, told him we were on a podcast.
That eight is just imaginary.
There's no one actually watching.
Yeah, we made that up
at one point. So, well, no, I think what we've all agreed here is that this has been a great therapy session about the Celtics, because I think we all went into this thinking we were going to be a lot more upset than we actually are, when actually we're coming away with Dave saying that he agrees with Danny, and basically the words from everybody else is it's not time to panic yet, right? Because Mike brought up a great point. Mike, your point was that before the season we all said, if they don't do something, this is what it's going to be. And then Ray and I decided to put them fourth in the East because that's where they should be with the team as currently constituted. But then Harden gets traded to Brooklyn, and now we have a bigger issue.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, though. If there's any doubt right now if this team can do something or not, we're going to know with the second half of the schedule, because this thing, I don't know if you guys have seen it, if you really looked at it, but it is brutal. We have Mavericks, Sixers, Hornets, all within the first 2 weeks of coming back after the All-Star break. Then the Nuggets, Trailblazers, Lakers, Nets, all on a consecutive week. So
there's a version of this team, though, and it's not the most recent version, but there's a version of this team, Bobby, that goes and beats those kinds of teams, but then loses to like the shittier tier teams, you know?
Like the kind of remind me of a football team.
Yeah.
One.
Steelers.
Oh, well, we'll get there too. We're definitely going to get there.
Hold on. We're all sitting here. We're all friends now, watching the Celtics together, commiserating over the Celtics, and then you're like, "Hey, remember the Steelers?
Remember this, guys? Remember this shit? Remember that?"
Right.
Hey,
wow. That's crazy.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, I'm saying we just had a comment saying that Boogie Cousins is not changing his team. Well, guess what, Mr. Silva? Neither is Daniel Tice or Semi Ojeleye either. So just saying.
That's the thing is, like, I wouldn't want Boogie, because I truly believe if there's one thing I want to come away with from this season is if Robert Williams is legit. So, like, I think that Daniel Tice needs to take a backseat. All these guys need to take a backseat to Robert Williams, because if there's one person that looks like he can actually dominate an NBA floor on the Celtics besides Tatum and Brown, it is Robert Williams. Because there are times, man, where he looks – he's just a presence. You know what I mean? When he gets
streaky.
rolling,
it's pretty streaky, but like those upside streaks are legit.
Yeah, but he's never played more than 13 games in a row. Like, so like that needs to change. Right? We need to figure out if he's a big man for the long haul, because if he isn't, if he can only do this for like, sporadically throughout the season, then what? Like, yeah, he's a high ceiling, but if he can't do it consistently, if he can't be in a regular season where like a 60 game season, like that's a problem for me.
But the only reason I bring in Boogie Cousins is because watching Tristan Thompson, just my personal opinion, play offensive basketball it's so unpleasant
sometimes. Yeah, it's really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it definitely MCA type of game. He looks like me out there at times, offensively anyway. Defensively,
yeah, he plays old man basketball, but like not in a fun way.
That's it. Yeah, he just bodies people.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then he got bodied by Zion. That was embarrassing. Did you see that?
I mean, everyone gets bodied by Zion. So just saying.
But like, it just hurts when it happens to us.
We need to not mention. Listen. Marcus Smart is so important to this team. And like, I know we're being really positive for such a team that we've been talking so much shit about, but I really feel like
there's still a lot of talent on the team.
Right. And like, if you watch, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's a clip from that Hawks game that we got smoked by, where Marcus Smart is shouting coaching on the defensive end to the entire team. Like, he's telling Jeff Teague he needs to slide over. He's telling Tristan Thompson he needs to rotate up. So like, having him actually on the court, I feel like does make a big difference in this team. And seeing when he comes back healthy, we'll see what this team really has. Like I said, we're going to know in that second half.
Trade him.
I'll tell you why we're more positive, though, is because we came into this season with a set of expectations. Those expectations have been crushed. We've all gone through now the mourning period, denial, anger, I don't know, rage, shame. I don't know what all the other ones are.
Not turning him on, just like
yelling at each other, yelling at ourselves, crying in the shower, whatever process you went through about the Celtics team. And then we came into this show, and we're all basically at the end of the grief cycle, and that is acceptance. And
I don't know.
And acceptance.
I'm still pissed.
It could be bargaining. We might still be at bargaining. I don't know.
Joe had to come for me on the air on Tuesday because I damn near had a meltdown. Like, I literally like in the middle. We was in the middle of having a point, and I literally was just like, "Oh God!" Like this team is so bad. He was just like, hey, like take a deep breath. It's okay. And I'm like,
it's even worse when
my brain right now.
It's so worse when we're recording during a game too, because then you're watching it happen as you're talking about it. Yeah. So I mean, Ray, just don't turn on the game against Washington that starts in a minute, and we'll be fine.
I can't though. That's the problem. Like,
so
I'm glued to the foolishness.
So just to recap the first hour, we have accepted kind of what's going on with the Celtics. Kind of, as Mike just said, we're pissed. I mean, we have every reason to be, because they're not playing well and the management is refusing to do anything about it. But my point on the first hour is, at some point, while we are all fans and we are trying to figure things out, we want them to be the best that they can. There may be underlying things that are going on with this team that may be causing them to not do it, whether that's not wanting to spend money when you're not getting ticket revenue, whether it's the health of the team, which we've seen, because we have guys that have physical injuries and we have guys that have had illness fatigue after they've recovered from the illness. We've also learned that Dave has a little green man in his head. Contrary to popular belief, it has to do with the Boston Celtics, not the fact that he's Irish. We also learned that Bobby is a klepto from Blockbuster, and that Ray he's insane about the Celtics. And
then we're all a lot nicer to each other when we're talking about basketball. And if we move on to football, it's going to get mean again.
Let's move on to football then.
All right.
Go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, to bring it back to Brad Stevens. Listen, that's one guy right now I can never be positive about, because I can't stand this rhetoric anymore. I can't. He's actually really annoying me. It's so frustrating to see a team blow a 24-point lead and then not have the coach be pissed after. I can't do it anymore.
He doesn't get angry from Indiana.
It'd be really great if we didn't blow this lead, guys.
I just can't deal with
back a little bit on defense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, I feel like we just weren't getting the shots that we wanted to get. If we got those shots, this game could have been a lot different. And you know what? Listen, you know what? I know Kemba was 2 of 18 tonight, but this guy is part of our plan. Okay, Kemba is.
There's a really good Dateline on tonight. I'd really love to get home and watch.
I can't take it anymore. I can't. And I need someone. If there's a 24-point lead, I need someone that's like, guys, what the fuck are we doing? Are you like? That's what they need. They need someone that's going to take their foot.
We have the. You're absolutely right.
Far up their ass that
we have the PBS coach and we need the Spike TV coach.
Bobby, we've talked about this though, right? Haven't we heard this from other coaches on other teams in the past? And it's just different when it's in our city, right? We started to hear it. We started to hear it as Patriots fans from Bill Belichick this year. We've heard it in the past as Red Sox fans, mostly from John Henry, who can get lost and just go run Liverpool if he really wants to, even though that's what he hired Billy Beane to do. So screw those guys. Sorry,
that's not even true.
There's just so many things wrong with John Henry.
I know what you're getting. I'm sick of being fed bullshit, man. I'm sick of someone taking
Can I ask you something, though, Bobby?
Pile of shit and shoving it in my mouth. I'm sick of it.
There's places where you have to pay extra for that. But listen, let me ask you something honestly, though. Do you think that in basketball culture, that basketball players, the way that football players are, for example, coaches from the time they're in Pop Warner are screaming at them. You know what I mean? Like from the time you're in Pop Warner playing football, it's like, what? Get up, maggot! Get up and run through those tires! And like that's just how the culture is in football. And it's very like, listen to your coach. Listen to your coach. The coach, it's like your dad, your priest, and your coach, like down in Texas football, whatever. I've been watching a lot of Friday Night Lights, if you can't tell. But in basketball, they're a little softer. The players, it's not. You can't really yell at the players in basketball these days.
It's the AAU culture, man.
It's the AAU culture. Very soft.
AAU culture.
Very soft.
Rays are my pillow guy.
It's like very, very soft. You missed 100% of the shots that you don't make, so you just have to make sure that you take one day at a time and one game at a time. And it's like it's a joke.
It's made us fluffier.
But also, if your name's Marcus Smart,
if you go get a coach to yell at Tatum and Brown, the worst case scenario, Tatum and Brown might come out. Tatum more likely. Where if you yell at Jason Tatum, like there's a chance he might just like be a little baby about it and be like, "Well, I'm just going to go to a different team then."
I feel like Jalen's so different though. Where I feel like Jalen wants. I feel like Jalen wants someone in his fucking face. You can hear it when they ask him questions about how bad this team is playing. His reactions are. It's so telling that this dude wants someone at the throat of this team. Because he's like, it's unacceptable. It's bullshit.
They don't play hard enough.
Effort.
You want to know why they're blowing fourth quarter teams? They're not playing hard enough. They're just not playing hard enough. That's
why it's like, if they were playing hard and they were just missing shots and just like missing their assignments on defense, and it actually was fundamental basketball issues, then I'd be like, okay, Brad, you're right. You're right. That's fine. But if you're not playing hard, and I want to see that fucking vein popping out of Brad's forehead. You know what I mean? I want.
Happen.
I know, and it's so frustrating, and I'm so done with it. It's been years, and it's the same shit every fucking year. I'm done.
We were also at one point. I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll just make this one point. And I'll shut up. We were at one point on Brad Stevens, like one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in the NBA. Now we're like the 15th best. It's like you were talking about that era with like the Olynyk's and the Avery Bradleys of the world. It's like we can't defend in transition anymore. We could never protect the rim.
I've never seen a Celtics team miss their rotations as much as this team. There's that guy wide open in that corner every fucking time. It looks like a college basketball team. You know what I mean?
But you can also, but the thing is, you can also just, and we discovered this in the playoffs last year, is you can just run the zone on us and just put bodies in front of people, and everybody just goes like, "Oh, I don't want to run through bodies in there. Let's just shoot." Like, let's just start shooting because, like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's soft as shit.
That's what I was going to say real quick, Joe, is that and Bobby, you had me in tears, but I think what's more enraging to me than the rhetoric is the fact that the overall philosophy of this team appears to be, we're just going to shoot our way out of it when we can't. And it's just absolute mismanagement of the team, right? I mean, I think, there are a few bright spots. Yes, I agree. Can we all agree that Naismith is not one? He's not a bright spot of this team. Like he's not.
What happened there?
No. He's playing better lately. Don't do that.
Grant Williams is not the bright spot.
When Brad is finally giving him minutes, now he's actually playing better. So no, he wasn't playing at all. So we was like, what the hell's going on?
But if he was brought in to be such a specific thing, like this grip and rip guy, and if he has that skill set, like why not just put him in those situations? It's like frustrating to not have seen him get those rotation minutes early.
No, for sure. But I feel like he's become better as a defender. Like he definitely hustles on every play. You see that chase down block he had a couple nights. Like he's invested defensively, which is I think.
Well, I want to see more of him though. That's what I'm talking about with Brad.
I agree. But that's on Brad. Yeah, that's not on Nesmith yet. Granted, I want him to start knocking down some shots, but once again, that doesn't always translate right away. But I think obviously we all definitely bought into that. Like,
to defend him. When you have a guy in college who's really good at coming off screens specifically and shooting, that does always take time to adjust to in the NBA because the screens you're coming off, they hurt more.
It's so much
faster. The bodies are bigger and everybody gets there faster and they get to their spots faster. So he's going to just learn to come around those corners a little bit tighter. And I think that shot will be there. But but that's what I mean. Like, what happened there? Like, why isn't he getting his minutes to learn that? You know what I mean? It's like, go do that.
In that New Orleans game, guys, we were all talking during that game. You knew they were fucking blowing that game. Going into the fourth, every single one of us knew that game was getting blown. Yeah. It was happening. And the fact that Brad didn't look at what was on the court and be like, listen, we got to change everything. If I was Brad 2 minutes into that fourth quarter, I call a timeout and I do a 5-for-5, man. I'm taking everyone off and I'm putting a whole new group on because you guys need to
lose by 30.
You need to change the fucking energy. Regardless, though, but we still fucking lost, so you might as well send a fucking message. How many times do you see that where you just take all of them off?
You're like, listen, guys, to change what we're doing. We get stuck in these weird patterns of, like Mike said, shooting all the time.
Hero ball,
we're talking about hero ball. Sure, that's a thing that we do. Getting killed in the zone, that's still a thing that we do. We didn't learn that lesson from the playoffs. Taking turns, bullshit, not playing as a team, not moving the basketball. Brad can't seem to get them to lock back into a different thing when they get stuck in those moments. And we talked about this on a show I was on a couple weeks ago. Do they listen to him? When he says stuff at this point? And I'm really worried about that because if they're not listening to him, we got a problem.
So it only took us 61 minutes to slander Brad Stevens and the way he approaches press conferences. Bobby, it's a good thing we didn't. It's a good thing we didn't kill the NBA segment because we would not have gotten that wonderful nugget from Bobby that had Mike and I falling out of our chairs, quite literally.
Step inside the marketing mirror to uncover marketing secrets, discover gems, tactics, lessons, and campaigns you can use. Next gen or fundamentals. Grab the marketing magic to improve your marketing and win more business.
Electricast.
Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Electricast.